Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the film Devil Doll, which was produced in the United Kingdom in 1964. An evil ventriloquist, he was in a performance in a package stage in London, and then we can see that there was some tension between him and the dummy who was called Hugo, and that they didn't exactly get along, but the audiences thought it was part of the show. And then one day he realized that there was a very rich heiress in the audience, and he encouraged her to go to the stage to be hypnotized. And then while on the stage he made her dance the twist, which was a very famous musical rhythm of the era. Then it was like a normal occurrence. The boyfriend of this heiress, he got a little bit intrigued with the dummy and the ventriloquist, and he asked his girlfriend, who had just been hypnotized, to invite the ventriloquist and the dummy to the charity ball of her aunt, who was also a very rich woman. Then, during the charity ball, in the middle of the performance, Hugo, the dummy, he took a knife and started to argue with the ventriloquist. The elderly ladies got very scared, but still it was thought it was part of the act. Then the boyfriend of the heiress got to see the dummy in private. He investigated it and realized that it was a common, ordinary dummy. There was nothing mechanical, electrical on it that would make it act on its own. It was just a normal, ordinary wooden doll. Time passed, and then the heiress and the ventriloquist, they got closer and closer, because the ventriloquist hypnotized the heiress, so she fell in love with him, and he even raped her during one of those sessions. And then the heiress, she started to be very sick, delirious, and she fell into coma. And in one of her conscious moments, she said, "Oh, he's calling me, please make him stop," because she was disturbed due to the hypnotism sessions. And then her boyfriend, he started to be suspicious that the sudden disease of his girlfriend could be caused by the ventriloquist when he hypnotized his girlfriend on the stage. Then he contacted a friend of his, because after he investigated the dummy on his own went to his bedroom and said, "Oh, Berlin, 1948, and the dummy was kind of asking for help." And then, of course, the guy couldn't understand that, because it was just an ordinary wooden doll, and how come it could speak on its own? And of course, that the guy said that the dummy talked to him. Nobody believed that. Still, he talked to a friend of him and asked him to investigate about the ventriloquist and what on earth he had to do with Berlin 1948. Then his colleague got to know that this ventriloquist was a doctor, but he was disbarred because he was seriously involved with mysterious Eastern practices, with mysticism, hypnotism, and this kind of thing. And then he started to act as a magician and a ventriloquist. And he had two assistants, Hugo and Mercedes. Hugo had passed away, but Mercedes was still alive. Then the boyfriend of the heiress went to talk to Mercedes, and Mercedes said that there was an accident in 1948 in Berlin involving the ventriloquist and Hugo, his assistant. He had been hypnotized to act on stage and do not feel any pain. However, one day, Hugo was the assistant of the ventriloquist. He was stabbed in the middle of the performance. The audience thought it was part of the performance, but actually Hugo had been murdered. And then, as soon as it happened, the dummy became alive because the ventriloquist got to transfer Hugo's soul, his assistant's soul, to the wooden doll. And then the dummy had a life on its own. And Mercedes said that she witnessed that, but nobody believed her. And then we can see that after a short time, the ventriloquist talked to the dummy and told the dummy that he would marry the heiress. She would pass away after some months. He would inherit all her money, and then he would transfer her soul to another female dummy doll. And then Hugo, the dummy doll, which contained the soul of his former assistant, it got very angry and it smashed the doll that was intended to Marianne. Then a physical fight occurred, and when Marianne's boyfriend arrived and saw what happened, the ventriloquist started talking with Hugo's voice, and he said, "Don't worry, here it's Hugo talking in the body of the ventriloquist, and the ventriloquist is on a cage, because the ventriloquist used it to keep his dummy on a cage, locked like an animal." And then the ventriloquist, with his soul in a dummy doll, begged the guy to help him, and this is how the film ends. So people, as you can see, the plot is really insane. And I will be honest, it's not the best film on earth. It can be interesting, it can be entertaining, but you shouldn't question the plot, because it's really, really over the top. The acting of some actors isn't too convincing sometimes, but it's a nice film. It's not extraordinary or a masterpiece, nothing of the sort, but it's a good film, and it lasts around 1 hour and a half. And of course that you shouldn't take the plot seriously, but it can be entertaining in its own way. And of course that when you see that the ventriloquist and the dummy didn't get along, we can't imagine that there was the soul of a human being inside the doll. It's something that we see slowly throughout the film. Also the hypnotism of the heiress, it was kind of silly. He had trained her to be in love with him, to leave her boyfriend and go away with him. Then she was sick. Then she didn't remember the sexual abuse she passed through. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, it's worth taking a look. And I think it will be a nice experience. It's entertaining and time passes fast while watching this. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. See you!